Now, it's been just about 15 years since this show first aired on the television HBO, and I thought this would be a good opportunity to talk about Game of Thrones on Blu-ray. Not just the first season either, but the entire series. Let's discuss the packaging. I'll tell you what I like, what I dislike. Is this show worth picking up on a disc? Our journey begins in season one, a show that captures you from the minute it starts. A pilot that I have probably watched more than any other show, any other episode. This is the original Blu ray release in 2011 or probably 2012. First off, we have the shiny, slidey exterior, the slipcover that goes on top. And then underneath it, you have the box, which holds the disc, but it doesn't actually hold the disc. It's just a holder for the disc. It's a slip cover on top of a slip cover for the disc. I do appreciate how these two are different from one another. I like the detail surrounding the slip cover. There's a little bit of raise emboss in there. The back is just blank. Usually they put the DVD back cover on there so you know exactly what you're getting. Sometimes they leave that as a slip or a paper or an exterior, giving you a really clean package. I do find it interesting that the slipcover doesn't have a picture on the back, but there it is. That's a throne. That is the proverbial throne. Of course, we have Ned Stark on the cover. This sort of is the only season where it's appropriate to put Ned on the cover, for Ned is dead, does not make it out of this season. Spoilers, I probably should have said that from the beginning, but I'm spoiling the show. Sorry. If you haven't seen it, then maybe the Blu-ray is the best way to watch it. We get Ned once again. Ned front and center. Love this guy. Pinnacle character of this series. One that drives us through the dramatic tension of the first season, and one whose presence carries on in all the other seasons. He's a motivator, a major turning point for the story, the dramatic telling, where you think the brave, noble hero is going to save the day, save his family, and the realm itself. But it turns out he's just a guy from the north, and he doesn't want the throne. He doesn't want to be there. He moves his entire family down south. Actually, not his entire family. He kind of just takes his daughters with him, and it's his men. You can't forget his loyal men to the north. On the backside, we have Tyrion Lannister, played by Peter Dinklage, a character that will become a fan favorite and one of the main characters in the series. Not necessarily as main of a character as Ned Stark in this first season, nor is he really a major part of the books. He is a interesting character to follow, and one that makes an impact on the story as it unfolds, one that goes through a journey himself. And really, this first season kind of sticks to who he is in the books. And it's not until latter seasons that we really see Peter Dinklage shine as a star and as just a charismatic actor himself. On the spine, we get the Game of Thrones complete first season. We unfold from the middle to see Cersei and her beloved betrothed husband, Robert Baratheon, who is the king when the story starts. Unfortunately, he makes it even less than Ned. He dies from a boar accident. Was he fed too much wine from Lancel Lannister, cousin to Ciri, cousin series. Someone who may have aided the king to his untimely death. If the king didn't have such proclivities to alcoholism and boar hunting, then maybe this incident could have been avoided. Their dynamic is sort of the underpinning that is happening behind the game. Tyrion may not want the throne, may not want the power, but that's also because he has accepted that his condition, how he was born, makes him ineligible, unacceptable as a ruling person, a person who can hold land. Ned is very comfortable in the north. Ned has a beautiful family. When Ned called upon Robert to come to his aid to help save his sister, Robert said, I will do it, but I'm gonna get that crown. I'm gonna get me a crown. And now it's years later, and I am fat. My wife hates me. She hates me so much that she'd rather fuck her brother. That's kind of where we enter the story. I love how we just fold deeper and deeper into the story. Much like how the characters themselves don't really stand out when we first meet them. Jon, for all intents and purposes, is kind of dull, kind of boring, kind of in the background, but he's supposed to be. He's the bastard of Winterfell. He is not a true-born son, at least as we know of at this point. He is not a true born son of Winterfell, but he is a bastard. He is Snow, someone that Ned Stark supposedly bastard while he was at the war to save his sister. Ned, with his honor, his beautiful Catelyn Stark of House Tully, of the river folk, of the river people. That also gives you an idea of how long Robert has been on the throne, long enough for a full-grown baby boy to be born. Daenerys is sort of the last Targaryen. Besides her brother, she is the last of the family that was struck down, even though Jon is all the way in the north in Winterfell, and he goes even further north, and Daenerys is over in the west, roaming the hills. She gets married against her will to Khal Drogo, who is like the emperor, king of the horse tribal people. She's not in a great position when we start. Neither is Jon. They're both like the lowest of the low. Little do they know that their paths will cross in the future, but they are starting out as such small, humble beginnings that I find it interesting that even in this first season, there is a symmetry between them on these opening flaps. Robert and Cersei make sense because they are married and most of their drama plays out between the two of them. Ned and Tyrion don't really have much in common, but that's okay. They're on opposite sides of the spectrum. Then we fold the entire package out, 5 discs for a show that only has 10 episodes in its longest of seasons. For comparison's sake, here's the first season of The OC on DVD. Now, The OC being a dramatic teen drama show that is produced by Warner Brothers and aired on MTV, probably CW, I don't know. Whatever The OC aired on, it did follow basic sitcom drama rules, 40-minute episodes, an hour with commercials, 22, 23, maybe 25 episodes per season. Here we have a slightly different approach where all the discs are stacked up. Holy shit, I was wrong. There are 27. There are 27 episodes in this first. Just in comparison, we have 5 Blu-ray discs containing 10 episodes total. Here we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. 7 discs to hold 17 more episodes than the Game of Thrones disc. And these are DVDs. These are DVDs as well. So by all means necessary, these do not have the same amount of data space as the Blu-rays. So it just kind of blows my mind. The larger file sizes and the fidelity of Game of Thrones requires so much space on the disc when a show in standard definition, like the OC, can fit 27 episodes on 2 more discs than the Game of Thrones season. Also, deadass, if you ask me which show I prefer, which show I rather watch, it's a tough call. It is a tough call. Both of them are favorites in my heart for different reasons. Get back in line. Thank you, OC, for making a cameo. Always appreciate you. Always love you. Back to Game of Thrones. So we have 5 discs here, and they all have house symbols on them. They look the same. The lion and the wolf in silhouette on the black disc look gosh darn similar. So much so that you can't really even see them. And when you take the disc out of its casing, you see there's another. I don't know if I've ever looked at this. Let me get these ugly fucking stupid disc out of the way. That's actually really fun. Even though there's literally no reason you would take every single disc out at the same time. Though, hear me out. Back in the day when we were using CDs, CDs are like a Blu-ray disc, but they just hold music. And not a lot of music, just the one crappy album that you bought. But when we had a lot of CDs, we would put them in like a 5-disc CD changer. So when one CD stopped, it would move it out of the way and then bring the next one in line and start playing that one from start to finish. And I'm curious why no one ever thought of doing that for Blu-ray disc. Like, I could load up this entire season and then just have it switch out throughout the disc. But I'm assuming that putting 5 Blu-ray drives in a unit would probably cost more. I think that's a really cool detail. They did not have to put another picture in the casing, another picture in the background. And each disc itself does contain, so we have Stark on 1, the Lannisters on 2, Baratheon on 3, Targaryen on 4, and then the Crows with a Night Watch on disc 5. Do these correspond to the episodes they contain within? You could probably find parallels. Why? Like episodes 7, 8, and 9 are Targaryen episodes. I mean, she does go through a lot of shit in those. Disc 3 with episode 6 is a Baratheon episode. Maybe. Is that the one where Robert dies? I could not tell you. I do not know the episodes right off my hand. I'm just trying to find correlation. You get episodes 1 and 2 on disc 1. Enough to get you started, plus some bonus features. They don't wait till the last disc to give you all the bonus features. They kind of give them to you as you go, and each disc has different bonus features that sort of correspond with those episodes. Disc 2 is going to contain 3 episodes with 3, 4, and 5. Disc 3 only has 1 episode. Episode 6 is a little frustrating when I'm binging the show and then I'm putting in a disc just for one singular episode. That better be good to warrant an entire disc just for that episode. Disc 4 over here is going to contain 7, 8, and 9. I think the 3 is such a weird choice because you could have evenly put 2, 2, 2, 2, and 2, but they decided to split it up so it's 3 and 3 with 1 on that disc, and then the finale on the last disc. It makes the middle episode and the finale seem like their own movies, like they require special attention to be put in the player and to be watched. When it comes to our physical supplemental material, I like this book a whole lot. It's small, it is tight. The Blu-rays include, oh my god, get a full breakdown of what's included. Oh, so you get a guide to Westeros on the first disc. So this is why the bonus features are split up between the discs. So you don't get to the last one. And on the last disc, you finally get the Welcome to Westeros, the breakdown of the houses. No, you need that shit on disc 1. If you're like, I don't really know this world, I'm a little lost, they give you supplemental material on the first disc that will give you better context for the rest of the season. And I actually kind of appreciate that. You open it up And now we have a breakdown of each episode, who wrote it, who directed it, and you get a little blurb of what's in the episode. So episode 6 here is The Golden Crown, teleplay by Benioff, story by Benioff and Wise, directed by Menahan. Ned makes a controversial decree. Tyrion confesses to his crimes. The Sirius receives final payment for Daenerys. But it being called a Golden Crown makes me think that that's the episode in which Daenerys' brother dies and Dany basically becomes the last living hope for the Targaryens. So a quintessential episode within itself. Don't get me wrong. I'm still just questioning the reason to put on one disc or if it's just for the pageantry. Up in the book another level further, and I think this is really smart. I think this is really nice. Much like the books where you open them and you get a map, you get something physical to ground you in this world. But this perfectly breaks down the key characters that were introduced to, because you are introduced to quite the ensemble, and it breaks down how they relate to each other. A good family tree that then opens up to a full map of Westeros. This first season, I would say, gives you pretty much everything you need to start the show. This is all really nice material that reminds you of exactly what these episodes are. If you're looking for something specific, you can dive further into it with the breakdown of the families, which gives you not the drawn family trees, but the actual actors in the family tree. It really puts a face to these characters that you mostly just hear about. So for me personally, I'm going to say season 1 on Blu-ray is a good grab. All right, hold on. Gotta crack a cold one real quick. Key lime always hits right. So that was Game of Thrones season 1. And now we have season 2, following up the first season in a similar package. Spine with the logo, minus the decorative embossed raised texture that's on the first one. I do like how they're different colors to differentiate each other. And season 2 is slightly fatter, letting you know you're getting slightly more of a product. The exterior of it is pretty consistent, though I would say this is kind of dim. It looks a little dark for how gold and bright this crown should be. The chair with Ned in it is probably the most iconic image, and then the crown itself is like image number 2. And we end this season with a new king, and this season is all about the fight surrounding that king. So if I slip off the cover here, I really like that underneath you get the family crest. I think every logo is sick, especially the Baratheon deer shaking hands with the Lannister lion. There is a friendship there that I respect. Slip the cover out from the side. You get 2 slip covers for the price of 1. Underneath, we have a slightly different tone. We're leading off with Tyrion. Tyrion definitely becomes a bigger and more prominent character in this season. And you see that the dark shading on him gives a very different tone to his picture on the first season's disc. On the back of it, you see Jon now. Interesting upgrade. We no longer have Ned. Jon is upgraded from the inside of the cover to the outside of it, showing, I think, an elevation in these 2 characters. Moving to the inner works, we see 2 characters that were not featured on the packaging of season 1. Jaime Lannister, who I would argue is as pinnacle of a character as anyone else in season 1, since it is him who killed the last king until he becomes the head of the Gold Cloaks, so he can be closer to his sister, who he is Gane loves his sister, big sister lover right here. There is a sort of gold contrast they're doing here, like everything is saturated out except for a slight gold tone. But if they're going with that, I just wish they made the gold a little more pronounced on the cover. But I think it gives it a different sort of moody, rusty tone that the packaging in the first season did not possess. And there definitely is sort of a dirty, scrappier feeling with the second season. There's a lot more darkness surrounding the fallout of everything that happens in the first season, and where our characters are during this one is all kind of scrambling for themselves to figure out their place in this world and how to properly avenge Ned. Robb Stark becomes a wartime leader of the North. Flip it open one more time. Oh my God, Robb. And now we have our leading ladies in the cover. Cersei downgraded to inside slip. Daenerys still here. This time on the left side or the right side. I guess it's stage right. She's kind of peering over at Cersei, but seriously could not give a fuck. She knows she's untouchable. So again, we have 5 discs here for our 10 episodes. They are distributed in a slightly different way. And in the background, I don't need to take the disc out to tell you that that is Stannis's war table. We're introduced to Stannis Baratheon, who is Robert Baratheon's brother, and someone that should probably on the cover somewhere since he is waging an all-out war against the crown. But that is his war table. This is where the Game of Thrones is being played out. This represents Westeros. This represents the army. This represents how small and feudal all of their little games and politicking is, because it's like in the background we have so much more fantastical shit going on. I mean, Daenerys literally birthed dragons at the end of this. And throughout this whole season, it's like, oh, the girl has dragons. And they're like, well, how big are dragons? Such a major point of this show that it feels weird how empty the discs are. Last season, we got the respective house logos on each disc. There's a little step back, a scaling back. Same as Zach. Exterior image, they might have just used the same back and then took off the texture of the slipcover. I'm guessing to save money. There feels like there is a little bit of a downgrade of detail when it comes to season 2, but it feels like overall the package still corresponds with the first season. On the first disc, we have episodes 1 and 2. Disc 2 is 3 and 4. 3 is the one that we get the 3-episode feature on. Season 2, episodes 8 and 9 on disc 4. And then we get our finale on disc 5. Its own special little movie over here. What's this? What's this important notice? This Blu-ray disc is manufactured to the highest quality standards to ensure compatibility and the best possible viewing experience. Your Blu-ray disc player may need a firmware update. Please consult your player support website or visit blu-raydisc.com for best results to ensure you have the latest firmware for your player. There used to be a time in this in this goddamn country when you would take a disc, put it in the drive, and it reads it and it plays the movie. They realized that they could do changes after the fact. And I think Universal Studios is the most egregious at this when they do fresh trailers being streamed from the internet to play before your disc. The fresh trailers that they choose to add are still like 3 years old, even though they're supposed to be brand new trailers for brand new movies. I personally just say keep the old trailers on the disc, because for me, that's like a time capsule. It's like, okay, what else was coming out at this time? And sometimes I put in an older movie and the trailers start playing land, and I see a movie that I haven't thought about forever. I see media that I thought was a figment of my imagination when I was but a young, impressionable being. We have another booklet on the inside. Claimants to the throne. This is nice. This breaks down each of the major characters and their claim to the throne. You got Joffrey Baratheon, the king on the Iron Throne. I'll just read one of these so you can get an idea of how they're written. Young Joffrey Baratheon now sits on the Iron Throne, but whispers about his parentage swirl around the kingdom, giving his uncles, Stannis and Renly, possible claim to the seat. House Baratheon, founded after the conquest of Aegon Targaryen, has ruled the Seven Kingdoms since Robert seen the Iron Throne from the Mad King Aerys Targaryen. And they don't really give you like years, because you can kind of assume that years in the Game of Thrones world operate differently. You get hints that time kind of moves differently with like how they speak about summer and seasons, how you were born during the long summer before the last winter, and with winters literally lasting years, maybe decades. Not only do we get a little blurb of each episode, but you also get a little window. You get a little preview window in case your brain can't remember. You're like, what? Where's the one where fucking Jon Snow eats out Ingrid? Oh, it's episode 8, Prince of Winterfell. He fucking munches on that box and she goes, I like what you do with your tongue. We have a slightly different map here. Here we have Westeros on the left-hand side. And over here we have the east with Quarth being all the way in this little tiny corner over here. Really giving you a proportional size. Like this is sort of more or less England. And then this is like all of Europe. And that proportionality really shows you the task that Daenerys has. She may have the land and the access to all the capabilities, but she's cut off from the resources that she actually needs. Overall, though, Season 2 seems to follow basically the same formula of Season 1, making it a corresponding and cohesive collection to season collection thus far. Another good grab, I would say. By this point, I am anticipating what they will do for the next package. Season 3 was the first one that I pre-ordered the Blu-ray, and I was waiting for it because I wanted to add that Blu-ray to my collection. So I was both delighted and surprised to see them switch it up, making a white marbled background underneath a translucent slipcover with the shadow of a dragon on it, or the shadow of the dragon starts looming more and more over the series. If we're doing our spine check, it is about on par with season 2, though I feel like there's still a little more girth in it. They're just adding a little more to each spine to make my autism just like that much more frustrated. Of course, you get the famous throne on the background, like all of these do. There is a slight awkwardness with the translucent cover, though. It's just kind of awkwardly on the cover. Like, it slips. The second I grab it, it just slips. I don't really have that problem with these because paper kind of grips on itself. There's something about this plastic where it just refuses to stay on. I like this slipcover in itself. It's like an interesting addition. There's something about the raised texture of the other two covers that I find a little more satisfying. I think this is a nice change up. This outer cover has a little bit of texture to it. This time, Game of Thrones is written in a different sort of silvery than the first season. These are the 3 swords I believe we know in existence that can penetrate dragon scales. It's sort of like the dragon is looming over the series. There's a way to fight it and combat it, and we have 3 heroes with that possibility. And hero becomes a term that gets muddier and muddier as the series progresses. Take off this cover though, and now We are back to the good old black paper pull-out cover. Even closer. We are getting even closer to the characters. In like contrast, I think to show like the dark wintry side and then the brighter summer side, it's a transition getting closer to winter. There's more wintry and fantastical elements being introduced into the show season by season. The characters are becoming so much more defined in their choices. Tyrion has this huge scar on his face from the Battle of Blackwater that happens in season 2. I understand why they are leading off with him, since Peter Dinklage is probably the biggest star at this point. He's the one with the most quotes, like "I drink and I know things," "A Lannister always pays their debts." Usually the charismatic break that this show desperately needs in between misery and misery and more misery. Speaking of misery, on the back cover, we do have Cersei Lannister, who we see becoming a darker, more paranoid, and controlling figure. Season 2, during the Battle of Blackwater, as previously mentioned, she has a moment with Sansa. It almost feels like she knows they're gonna die, or she's trying to feed herself and her child poison so they don't get and murdered to death by the oncoming Stannis Baratheon army. That sort of breaks her. Though this cover, I don't really recognize her. There's something that like smoothed her out just a little too much to make her read automatically as Cersei. Is that Nicole Kidman? When did she join the show? In contrast from one another, though, I think they should have put the blue on this side of Jon. Tyrion has blue on the right side. Cersei has blue on the right side. Then you open the up, both have it on, stage right. Are they saying something there? Is there a commentary? For me, I think this would have looked better if Jon had it on this side, since they are kind of mere characters where she knows she's important and she keeps being dragged down and having to claw her way up. He refuses to accept any importance and keeps being placed in higher positions, in which he tries to kind of give up control, find a simpler way. He definitely looks like his character on that show. What was it? Gunfire? About the invention of gunpowder. What a weird career Kit Harington has had. Flip this bitch in one more time, and you get Jaime Lannister at his lowest of lows. This is the season with Brienne of Tar, and they go on their little road trip side quest to get back to the kingdom. This season does a really good job of humanizing Jaime because it puts him through the ringer. They knew if we as an audience were to like Jaime, were to understand Jaime, we would have to listen to him and listen to him tell his story. But the audience would not be accepting of his story until he is put in a place of such vulnerability that us, the audience, could not question if he's being genuine. Breaking down a character to that level, putting them in a spot where they feel like they are confessing something that no one else in the universe knows except for us and the character in the episode. There's such a good moment with the actors that makes you genuinely care and change your perspective on Jaime. And I think each season, each opening kind of reflects our shifting views on how we feel about these characters and this world. Though they both have it on the right side of their face, so I'm wondering why the does Cersei and Tyrion have it on the left side of their face? Such a weird freaking choice. Rob's here. Of course, Rob gets married and then murdered. He gets murdered at the red wedding. So Lannisters sends their regards. Once again, we are introduced to 5 separate discs. This time, white background going with the white of the paper cover. Though I don't know why they kept the inside of the cover as a black background. Maybe it's because it'd be easier to just fade to black. But we have the white background here. We see a dragon there. A dragon there. Is there another dragon somewhere? Do we got another dragon? So, I don't know. This is a good little hint of the main driving force of the season. Daenerys getting her shit together. This time we have episodes 1 and 2 on disc 1, 3 and 4 on disc 2, 5, 6, and 7 on disc 3, 8 and 9 on disc 4, then the Misa finale, episode 10, on disc 5. This seems to be the same format as season 2, where they have the middle one be the 3 episodes instead of the 1 episode with 3 and 3 on either side. I think this is cleaner. I do think it's funny that they still save the last episode for its own special disc, but I'm also assuming that this last disc has the most bonus features with it as well. Now on the inside, we have a whole bunch of crap here. Don't forget our important Blu-ray disc notice. Would not want our Blu-ray player to be out of date. Original series instant preview. 3 simple steps to watch free full episodes of acclaimed original series via network streaming. Confirm that your Blu-ray player is network connected. Insert the disc from the Blu-ray. Then in the features menu on the disc, select Instant Partner. Hold on, there's an asterisk. Episodes are available in English only, and they're only available for a limited time. This is 2014 home box office. That's a weird promotion. Like, hey, you may not have HBO, but you're watching Game of Thrones. Maybe you're curious, what else does HBO have to offer? Well, here's a card where you can get free episodes by putting a disc in, clicking on the special features, connecting an account, getting free episodes. Probably expired, probably doesn't work. I don't think just plain HBO is around anymore. It's HBO Max plus Discovery now. An advertisement for the George R.R. Martin book. This is when we were rapidly approaching the books. I don't know if the 5th one was out yet or the 5th one had just came out. And the series is sort of approaching an access point where they're gonna run out of material before the next book comes out, and they're not slowing down with the series. When you look at a manga series like Dragon Ball, 31 episodes, which is even more episodes than our OC episodes. In here, 31 episodes on 5 discs. Yes, they are like 20 minutes long. They're literally trying to buy time for the manga to be released. Some episodes are literally filler episodes for the manga to catch up. And that's how a lot of Japanese anime shows work. They're both like supplementary works working off of one another. And in that way, there's an everlasting loop of source material as long as that source material is coming out. And while all 31 episodes may not be premium anime content, there is still a solid story and source material to pull from. Game of Thrones can't do that. As we see, if they were waiting for the new books to come out to adapt them, then we would still be waiting. We would have ended with season 6 way back in 2006 or 7, and we would have never gotten another season because there was no more material to adapt. So for them to be advertising supplementary books, like, hey, there's more lore books, there's the Lands of Ice and Fire, or you can read the dragon books, there's dragon ones too. I like how they redid the covers. If you look at the cover 3 for Storm of Swords, you see that they put the same dragon shadow on it, as well as the crown for Clash of Kings. So there is sort of a corresponding connection that they're trying to draw, where it's like, hey guys, seriously, if you think the show's good, if you think this shit's good, try this. It's the same stuff, same characters, we promise. And also, you can't forget, we are in 2014 right now, and this is the height of nerd culture. This is pop culture on crack to a level of consumerism that I don't think will ever be rivaled in the history of mankind. HBO, with the Game of Thrones merch, was very early to adopt and feed into nerd culture. If you wanted the Hand of the Kingpin, you could buy that. If you wanted the flag, if you wanted the banners, if you wanted really nice art books or lore books or sword recreations, but nothing captured the consumer nerd culture more than Funko Pops. Trap a hole that we literally have not been able to get out of. We are quite literally still in the midst of a Funko Pop hellscape. You can't even go to a landfill without being reminded of these plastic, dead-eyed creations. Did have the little ghosty one. The little ghost Funko Pop was worth it. In the episode guide, it looks like they took away any fun supplemental material. We don't get claims to the throne, nor do we get any house, what are those called? Family trees, lineage. We just start off with the episodes and the blurb about the episodes, and then, oh, it's like a drawing. Kind of looks like Dark Souls, I guess. Am I supposed to hang this up? From Game of Thrones, the complete third season on Blu-ray. I'm assuming that's concept art for the Red Keep, and then this is saying it's from a bonus feature called History of the Red Keep. There's that, I guess. It's not as useful as a map. You're definitely getting more shit in here, but all this feels like, I don't know, like filler. Feels like maybe consumerism is taking over my niche fantasy experience. And that brings us to season 4. Season 4, All Men Must Die. The truth. We're speaking hard truths here. This is the first one to put like a catchphrase on the cover to have like a little subtitle. We have the Game of Thrones font up here. Not as raised as last covers. There's like a little less density to it, if you ask me. All right, we gotta do a spine check. Spine checks. I personally do not have a spine. Sold it long ago for a broken heart. That's what I did. I can forgive these two not having the same sort of texture and detail on the side. They have the same logo, different colors, slightly bigger. This one sort of pisses me off because it completely breaks. Either way I put it, it just breaks it. It's a completely different color. It stands out. It has a completely different slip cover. And then season 4, we went right back to the paper. Is it skinnier than season 1? It is. It is. So this is when I start to get annoyed. It's like, waste all the packaging you have, all the paper, all the plastic, everything you want. Just make it all look good next to each other. They should all correspond. But things are starting to get a little funny, a little wacky. I like the crow on the front with the knives, the swords falling off of it. That just shows that the safety net, the Night's Watch, is sort of fragile, falling apart. If you build a watch force on swords, it will fall to anything. This is also the three-eyed raven. It's probably hinting that like all your wars, your swords, everything that you're fighting for, none of it really matters because there's something more going on. There's something mystical going on, and all men must die, meaning that only those that are elevated above men can survive, which in this season, that means Bran, the knowing, the seer, non-walker, I call him. Take the slipcover off to reveal Valar Morghulis, which I believe is Valerian for all men must die. So you do get the quote, but in the actual ton that it was presented in the show, first it's presented as that, and then I believe Daenerys translates it to all men must die. These covers really are just getting darker and darker. We still have the harder cardboardy cover for the outside, so 2 slip covers still with our inside cover. Daenerys Targaryen upgraded to the front. First time in 3 seasons, we see Daenerys on the outside. The blue is taken away. Now it's black and white with a little bit of red. Oh, this is a fiery season. This season, things are heating up a little. On the backside, we have Jon. These are very like struggle pictures. They're not beauty pictures. They're in the midst of something. They're struggling with the battles, the tribulations. I believe Jon is struggling with his connections between the tribal people of the North and the oath he took to the Night's Watchman. Technically, he's a deserter. Technically, he stuck his filthy in a girl. Therefore, he is no longer in the Night's Watch. Little less red underneath him, a little less fire, a lot more fire underneath Daenerys. Don't know if I'm supposed to take anything away from that. It's just an observation about the covers. Though with how white these are, it would have felt more appropriate in season 3. If they made season 3 kind of like this, it would have made so much more sense instead of the black fade out that they did. As you see, you have to put more of their bodies in this and you can't just fade out to black. Last season, we did get as close to them as we possibly could without it being just a shot of their eyes. So I do like the camera pulls back a little and it's giving us a little bit of an abstract. Pop this open. We have Tyrion in chains, taking fire, taking blame for the death of Joffrey. Cersei over here, she can't even look at him. She doesn't want anything to do with him. She knows that he may not be guilty, but she is so bloodthirsty that she cannot even look past that possibility. For if he is not the killer, then she doesn't know who the killer is, and she will not get closure for the death of her child. Much like Daenerys on the front, Cersei has a little more red under her. Tyrion has a little less, a little more than Jon, but definitely less than Cersei. Seriously. Whoa, okay. 4 disc. We have a less discount leading to an, I swear, the supplemental material. I'm just gonna take it out. It's frustrating me. Okay, so the one less disc, it would appear, leads to an incongruency when opening these. Typically, we've had a corresponding picture to go with the one next to it. But now, when I flip to the next one, disc, picture cell. Jaime, looking heroic, also a little defeated, probably believing Tyrion that he didn't kill Joffrey, but also Jaime himself not really giving a fuck that Joffrey's dead. He knew Joffrey was rotten. And then instead of one grand picture behind the disc, it looks like we have different characters with Arya Stark. The very first time she's ever made an appearance on the packaging of any of these discs, which is funny since she's probably my absolute favorite character from the beginning. Took them 4 seasons to give her due diligence, with Bran on the second page, Sansa on the third, and then the final Stark child, the Hound. Don't get me wrong, the Hound is an integral character, especially with how he relates to Sansa and the likes, but being put on the cover is an interesting choice. I personally would put Pedro Pascal as his character Oberyn on here, since this is the only season that that dude shows up and then gets Episode 8 is the Mountain of the Viper, so he gets yeeted over here in Disc 3. Disc 1, we have episodes 1 and 2. Disc 2, 3 through 5, so 3, 4, and 5. Disc 3 is 6, 7, and 8, and then the final disc is 9 and 10. Maybe they have less supplemental material to go along with this season, since like all their bonus features they have kind of done already, put on the other discs, but you still get a good grab of extras with new character locations, politics, a round table behind the battle for the wall, and of course audio commentaries as well as deleted scenes. Personally, I'm kind of a nerd for that stuff. If that doesn't matter to you, then you're probably just happy to have 4 discs instead of the 5, which would explain why the season is a little smaller in the girth than previous offerings. You have the episode breakdown in the middle like always, and that's it. Don't even get a piece of art this time. We also have another HBO sampler, something that I definitely did not redeem. There is another merch one sheet. This time, however, there's only one mention of a Funko Pop. I believe that's the Samwise Funko Pop. And then on the other side, it is a companion piece behind the making of Game of Thrones. I personally really like art books. You get a little breakdown of the behind the scenes, you get some concept art, you get alternative costumes, and really nice high resolution photos. I like high resolution photography. So for me, that book might be something that I might be interested in a lot more than the Funko Pops that were advertised in the last one. How do you say thank you in Dothraki? You don't use this expression instead. Anha vasak yaran thirat. I will let you live. That's fun. That's get 20% off the Dothraki online course. Expires December 31st, 2015. 10 years ago, I could have learned Dothraki. I could have got 20% off. How much is a program? How much would be the program for me to learn this fake language that is always translated and subtitled for me? And then on the back, it looks like there's an advertisement for more George R. R. Martin book materials because, you know, you've read through the other books, you're waiting the next one. It's not gonna come out. This is probably the first season that I'm getting less and less excited for the actual discs themselves. I'm sort of just buying them out of obligations. These first 3 seasons are so solid on Blu-ray that I feel like I need the 4th one to go with it. It's not that 4th season is worse. In fact, the 4th season is some of the best work that this series does in terms of personal drama relating to the overall drama and completely shaking up our expectations for how the flow of this series works. I just can't help but feel like this is the first season, the first package that sort of loses the magic. They're just scaling back little by little, and I can feel it. If I was upset with that one, sort of making the spine situation a little weird, then I'm definitely not feeling season 5. Went back to this plastic exterior cover, so they do a little more with it, sort of aping this first season where you have all this detail of the families and their crust in the corners and the background. A lot less families. You have more here, like the Boltons, the Tullys, the Greyjoys are in here, the Sunspears. You get a lot more players on the cover of season 5. And when it comes to our spine comparison, I have lost all hope. I have lost all hope of these Blu-ray seasons looking good together on my shelf. I want to keep it with the slipcover under the cardboard with the disc contained inside. All of these technically correspond. There's just something about season 5 that really grinds my gears. There's something about season 5 where they put it in this golden exterior that just feels different. It feels like there's an iconography being forced upon you instead of one that is just part of the show. Instead of one that is just integrally iconic to the show, we're now trying to form our iconography. With Tyrion traveling to the east to meet up with Daenerys, he encounters a dragon for the first time, being smuggled out of King's Landing after being found guilty, failing his trial by combat with Oberyn, and then killing his dad with a crossbow so he could escape. On the back of it, of course, we get the throne once again, this time in gold, this time a little smaller, just a little window. There's just a little window for the throne to exist. And the window to capture the throne is getting slimmer and slimmer as these characters fight longer and longer for it. There is kind of a cool texture in here where it does feel like it is foiled, and I do like how shiny it is, but it just does not go with any of the other packaging. Neither does this beauty shot. Once again, we have Daenerys front and center on the cover. This time she's looking more regal. She's looking more elegant. She has her scales on, her braids done, and she is looking away because you do not deserve her gaze. This is when Daenerys becomes a freedom fighter. This is when she starts taking over slave cities, holding them capture, and building up her army. This is when she finds a purpose in life as being a freedom fighter and a voice for the hopeless. She has fully taken on her role as Queen Regent. Whether or not she has that title, she is going to be a queen for all of Westeros. On the backside, once again, we have Jon. With the first 4 seasons, you do see the main characters, the main cast, shuffling and switching around as our expectations of who the heroes and the villains of the story are constantly being challenged, flipping on themselves. Characters that we thought were the main characters end up dying before they can fulfill any sort of their promise or their story dynamic, their story beat. Season 5, you can really feel like these two have become the main characters. Jon is anchoring all of our drama in the north happening with the White Walkers and the Night's Watch. Also a little bit of Winterfell and Stark. Characters are either trying to get to one of the two characters or the two characters are trying to get back to a place where they can then interact with other characters. It sort of starts to feel like the world and the pieces within the world start to float around these two and revolve around these two as they become sort of the full driving force of the series. Who is Jon's mother? What happened to her brother or her cousin or her dad? Who was Aegon? Her uncle? On the inside, we see the two Golden Lannister siblings. Cersei, completely free from her sons. I believe Tommen ends his life during this season. She takes steps into her own hand to implement policy to affect world change, to affect her city, not just a Shadow Queen, but more of the full front-facing queen, despite the attempts of her son Tommen to be a good-hearted and generally kind king. Also, Tommen's Bane and Natalie Dormer. I do not condone sexual assault, nor do I condone statutory rape, but Natalie Dormer, not a bad wife or a 12-year-old. Tyrion on this side, turning his back on family. He is no longer in Westeros as we know it. He has now gone to join Daenerys. Once again, 4 deaths makes it an uneven folding experience. We do have Arya again in her glory as they are furthering their journey to become an assassin elite. There's a true independent spirit about Arya that makes her consistently interesting to watch, even if her story doesn't really pay off or go in the directions that one would find dramatically satisfying, because she feels completely separate from whatever other drama is going on, and she just holds on to her mission that she has had since she saw her dad die. Her list of names to kill, she is taking the steps to achieve that, and in that way she has stayed the most consistent character on the show and the most forward trajectory of a character without interference. All right, we got the 4 discs inside with, I believe, the gladiatorial harpy where they would do slave games, and you gotta have the slave games. If you don't do the slave games, then the slaves are gonna revolt because the slavers want their slaves to fight. And if you don't let the slaves fight, then people are gonna be mad. People are gonna revolt and they're gonna go, hey, I want my fights, Daenerys. So the Sons of the Harpy, what this mask is indicating, is a group of resistant fighter to Daenerys' reign, as she has just come into their town, toppled their government, and is now the queen of the region, I guess. And she completely just abolishes slavery. Good for her. Good mission. Love what she's doing. Love her work. But that leaves the city in sort of a tight situation. They have older ways of conducting business, and during this And during this gladiator type fight, there is a rebellion that sees Daenerys almost lose her life and concludes with her riding Drogo for the first time like a glorious mother witch. At this point, no one can fuck with her. She is top bitch. She may have lost the city, but she did not lose my respect. Episodes 1 and 2 on disc 1, episodes 3, 4, and 5 on disc 2, set 7, 8 on disc 3, and then of course 9 and 10 on disc 4. I feel like you're getting a good amount of material on each disc. I like that they've gotten rid of the 5th disc. I just wish the folds maintain consistent throughout each row. Of course, we have our HBO sampler. How many episodes of TV could one have watched if I put all my HBO samplers together? In case you forgot, these are based on books, and in case you haven't read them, go get yourself the book, dude. Another ad for the Dothraki language course. Though this one is not offering 20% off. This one, you do not get 20% off. It's the same exact back sheet with the same, how do you say thank you in Dothraki. But this time, you don't get that 20% off, so you're paying full price for that Dothraki course. In the booklet, we have nothing special. It's gonna be all the episodes again, the writer and the director. We do have a couple screenshots around the outside to go with it, but overall the pageantry, the fun of opening these is kind of completely gone. I do not know if I have even played this season. Why is there's like schmaltz on it? Maybe I have played this season. If I'm rewatching Game of Thrones, if I made it to season 5 of Game of Thrones, I'm probably just watching it on streaming. Even though I do have to say the uncompressed version of these episodes does look a lot better on a TV, especially like a 4K TV with some really good blacks on it. These episodes do tend to have a slightly better bit rate than what the HBO app can give you. On its own, I kind of like the packaging for season 5, the gold. There's not an introduction to the world. If you're on season 5 by now, then you are fully indoctrinated into the Game of Thrones fandom. And while this may not have been the strongest season at this point, I still think it is a worthwhile addiction. I still think it is a worthwhile addition to the collection, even though it sort of breaks that spine symmetry that I like in these. And that brings us to our final season. Well, not the final season of the show, but season 6, the last one that I have on Blu-ray. I think you know why. If you've been watching this and you know Game of Thrones, then you know that season 7 and 8 of the series is about when it takes a really sharp nosedive. And I would like to do a if you are a watcher of Game of Thrones, then you would know that season 7 and 8 is when the series took a very sharp nosedive in quality. That season 6 is kind of the last good season of the show, and the last season in which they had source material for. For the 5th book was split up between season 5 and season 6 in its adaptation, leaving season 7 and 8 to their own devices, and those devices, well, they failed. So I personally stopped purchasing the Blu-rays after season 6. Not that I didn't want them. If the seasons were good, even if the seasons were mediocre, I still could have foreseen me adding them to my collection. But at this point, the collection is so off that I didn't really care to add to it. Season 6 is by far the skinniest out of all of them. It doesn't have a slip cover on it. It is just the cardboard cover with the disc sliding out, and it is by far the skinniest spine out of any of the other seasons, making it just visually look awkward on my shelf. Why is it so blue? Like it's stony and cold, but we went bright and gold with the last one. Still a little grimy, but now we're like stone skin, the dragon skin. I am no one being afraid praised by Arya, making Arya feel a little more like a main character, making Arya's quote feel like the important one to pay attention to. On the front, we have the characters all seeming as corpses, since season 5 is the one that ends with Jon's death, Jon Snow being stabbed. Listen, Jon went north, Jon ate Ingrid's snatch, they climbed the wall, they stormed a village, Jon grew consciousness, Jon went back to the Night's Watchman, the Night's Watchman rejected him because he was a wildling f***er. He then becomes voted as the Lord of the Night's Watchmen, as the head of the Night's Watchmen. He has to protect the castle from the wildlings he had now become embedded to, and that he kind of loved. So he kills Ingrid, shoots her with a bow. That hurts. That's hard as shit. He also gets shot a little bit. But then his men revolt against him for leading the wildlings over the wall into the castle, because technically Jon did that. And how could one lead the Watchmen if he's also putting the Watchmen in danger, causing his brothers to die, causing him to almost lose his life? So at the very end of season 5, the last button on it is every member of the Night's Watchmen, even the young protege in which Jon saw himself in, the young protege in which Jon thought was a good boy, that he was gonna be able to train into a noble warrior. They all take turns stabbing him, saying, reciting, "For the Watch." Cliffhanger, will Jon survive? Is he dead for good? And for an entire year between these two seasons coming out, the writers, the production crew, all of HBO try to gaslight you into saying Jon will not come back. He is dead. Once dead is always dead. Ned doesn't come back. Robert doesn't come back. Joffrey doesn't come back. Robb Stark doesn't come back. So in a show where no one comes back and the main character just died, what do we do? Besides hinting that all characters are doomed for death, that doesn't matter if we bring a character back to life, because all is doomed to death, because the Great Winter is coming and Jon's role that he has to play in the war is not over yet. At least this is what the Lady of Light hints at. Missandre? This is what she hints at when she performs her devil magic to bring Jon back. This cover is sort of playing on that, for Jon's closed eyes were a really, really big part of the show. But this is also where Arya goes to get her faces as disguises. There's like an underground assassin school in which you have to have a coin from another assassin to get into, and you have to know the phrase to get in there. Once you're in the school, they will gaslight you into thinking that you're just taking care of bodies. The bodies you're taking care of, the bodies you're washing, are bodies that you're stealing their faces for. And in this world, stealing a face means it goes up on the wall, and any person at any time can take that face and put it over theirs. But you have to be a master assassin, or else the face swapping doesn't work. This is honestly where the fantastical elements of Game of Thrones start to break the dramatic world in which they live in, and nothing is more apparent than in Arya's storyline. Sort of feels rushed, sort of feels too easy, sort of feels contrived, and takes away a lot of the dramatic tension that Arya was so good at. She was so self-motivated for the entire series, and then season 6 just grinds her to a stop so she can learn a lesson. I find like her attempts to be an assassin really interesting. I like when she's shucking oysters. I think that's good. As soon as she gets stabbed and she falls into the water, I'm less interested. I don't really care about her anymore. On this cover, if I am reading it right, we have Jon, the character that we left the last season as dead. Daenerys, not dead. Ned is dead. Pedro Pascal's Oberyn died in season 4. Robb died in season 3. I think that one's Arya, hinting Arya is dead because she has to give up her name, her title, and everything. Sansa is dead in the sense that she isn't really a Stark. She gets married off to Ramsay Ramsey, then she marries Littlefinger, so she's a Tully, then she's not a Tully, and then she's a Stark. Her identity, her journey is basically dead and taken from her. Tyrion was put on trial where he basically had to give up his entire name and any chance to live in Westeros. And then Cersei has given up any facade of being a mother. She becomes militant, she becomes conniving, murderous, treacherous, terrorist. She blows up the scepter. Cersei has basically killed every part of herself that had humanity, or her humanity has been taken away from her. I guess Daenerys is the only one that I have questions of, because like she's claiming her throne, she's gaining her name, she's building a name, she has titles upon titles upon titles, and yet she's still dead. I know she's like a main character this season, but it feels weird to have her amongst this group of people who have all given up different parts of their identity and their anatomy. What a switch up. We have Sansa, who has not appeared on any of these inner covers except for behind the disc on the season 4 compilation. There's not even a little pocket in this one for your shit to sit in, so that's all loose. Doesn't fold out quite like the last one. This is a completely different Blu-ray setup, making this one feel entirely different than all the other discs that came before it, making it feel sort of arbitrary to have this as part of the collection because it is such a drastically different fold out. If my enthusiasm for owning these in a physical medium was dying after season 4, and it's definitely dead by season 6, and it's probably the main reason why I did not come back for season 7 or 8. Have Sansa on the front, going through probably the most shit. She's been She's seen her entire family die. She's been like kidnapped, manipulated, every fucking thing you could ever imagine, every hope that she's ever had, crushed and taken away from her. She is a stony, stony woman at this point. Daenerys is on the back. We see the dragon around her neck, little beat up. Her hair is down. She's looking forward in the dark. Tyrion on the inside, still a visor to Daenerys. He's going through his own thing. Tyrion becomes significantly a less interesting character when he meets up with Daenerys. You think, oh wow, Tyrion is finally gonna team up. We have a meetup between characters, like like when the Hound and Sansa become connected together, or Robert Baratheon's bastard who becomes a part of the Night's Watchmen, and then he joins up with Jon Snow after going through this whole adventure with Arya Stark. There's like different team ups in the show of characters we followed for so long, and then they finally meet up together, and it enhances their characters and adds a new dynamic to the characters that we wouldn't have seen if they had maintained physical geography and where they were as characters. So for me, Tyrion meeting up with Daenerys is kind of one of the most disappointing cases of it. And when they first see each other, there's a lot of tension there. But then the storyline just becomes, I think I could make her better. I think I can take his advice, but I don't want it right now. I want Jorah. Can't trust Jorah. You can't trust Jorah. Never mind, I talked to him. I think you can trust Jorah. He seems like a good guy. To have these three as the spread out on the back, I do find it interesting because Sansa, I would say, is not on the same level of storytelling or importance to the story as those two, but she is kind of one of the last remaining starter characters that we have. Sansa was there from the very beginning, and she's definitely done the most growing up out of everyone in the show, but I do not know if she's on par with these two. It just gives a dynamic between these two that's fundamentally not there in the show. The discs look dirty. What the f? The discs aren't like flat black. There's kind of a texture to them to make it look like they were sprayed with a cleaning agent. And then I don't really like this when the discs overlap one another. The one underneath you have to pop up and then slide out, and just makes it slightly awkward for taking that bottom disc out. And it makes me uncomfortable. Like maybe I'll scratch this shit, and I don't want to scratch it. I don't want to scratch it. I'm trying to figure out what's going on in this back image. I don't know who this is supposed to be. Who is this character? I legit cannot tell who that is. Is this the Battle of the Bastards? Is this in the woods? Is that supposed to be Stannis? Or is this a flashback? Honestly, I'm kind of confused by this back cover. Once again, we have 4 discs. That's disc 2, disc 1. Disc 1 has episodes 1, 2, and 3, a little different. Usually disc 1 only contains episodes 1 and 2. Put disc 1 back, right? And I got disc 2 here. Disc 2 with episodes 4 and 5. How do I get disc 2 back in here? You have to like lift one up, move it under, and then click it back in. But as you do that, there's so much opportunity to scratch this top one and then also scratch this bottom one by sliding it in there. That's why even though these seasons have much more girth to them, that's because they have the full fold outs, so you don't have this issue at all. Now if I want to put disc 2 away, I have to take out disc 1, gently guide it in, and then push it down. And then disc 1 can come and lay over top. Disc 3, we have episodes 6, 7, and 8, with disc 4 having episodes 9 and 10. And of course, this is the last season in which there were 10 episodes. And if those spines are even smaller than what we were getting to. But as a collector, as someone who likes corresponding collector pieces, I'm a little disappointed in that this series has broken their formatting so many times. We want to hear from you. Win a 42-inch LCD TV and Blu-ray player. Guys, that's a little more than a couple of free episodes if you ask me. Tell us about yourself and your HBO favorites. Here's an opportunity to win a 42-inch LCD TV. Not that big at this time. At this time, I feel like we have much bigger TVs going. All you need to do is go to the website, complete our survey to be entered for a chance to win. Answering our survey questions will help us bring you more entertainment from HBO. See website for official rules. Sweepstakes ends Monday, July 10th, 2017. Well, we're a little past that. Sorry, guys. Got another reminder that there are indeed books. If you're like, I don't know. I made it 6 seasons into the show, and I don't know if I'll like the books. I don't know if the books are really my style. Here's just a reminder. They exist. You can get to it in your own time. No pressure. That just looks like a reprint from like the last 3 releases. And I swear, all these discs come out within like a year from each other, since the season and the show is premiering like year after year. And then the Blu-ray comes out like 3 months after the show ends. If you didn't think Game of Thrones fans were children enough, here you can get Monopoly, Clue, a shirt that just says Hodor, more Funko Pops. Don't forget about the Funko Pops. Drink wine. Drinking wine is a big part. If you too would like to explore the fundamentals of alcoholism, you can do it with a themed chalice. Just when you thought they could not think less of Game of Thrones fans, they're literally advertising you a coloring book. A coloring book for Game of Thrones, a coloring book that I'm sure more people bought and got further in before they ever cracked open a single page of any of the novels. It's sort of funny to think about it now, but there was a point in time when this show was uncontroversial. Either you hadn't seen it or it was your favorite show that has ever been produced. And I would say for the first couple of seasons, it maintains that quality with a little slippage in the storytelling starting to happen in seasons 5 and 6, with my interest completely waning. So I thought that since this was such an influential show, and I thought that maybe it being almost 15 years since it aired and about 10 years since the finale aired, that I should take a look at it in some way. And while I do want to break down and review every season of Game of Thrones, this video right here was about the packaging. But it doesn't stop here, for these are not the only releases of Game of Thrones. But first, I want to take a look at if I had bought in Season 7 and Season 8, what they would have looked like, and if they would have gone well with my collection as it stands now, with how it looks now, it being, not really fitting the way that I personally would prefer it did. So, I guess I'll see you guys at the computer then. Hello, and welcome back. We're at the chair now. I still got my LaCroix though. I am here to go over the rest of the Game of Thrones seasons. In my tier list, here at the top we have Jam It, and then at the bottom we have Slam It. If you didn't buy the first versions, the initial runs like I did, then maybe you grabbed one of these packs or you're interested in one of these packs. We're just gonna do an easy, clear tier list, go through what we have. First up, I gotta continue where I left off, and that is with Season 7. Here you see we got the Blu-ray going for $15.45 or $83 if you want the, I think that's the British or the Canadian one. Can you imagine spending $80 for one season of television? That is mind-blowing to me. But if we're over here and we're looking at Season 7, you have the 19 on the front cover, and it says winter is here. Ooh, it sounds menacing, and I'm glad that this actor that plays the 19, if anything, he seems like a genuine guy, and I'm glad that he got to play a character that he felt very proud of playing. He was just a stunt person playing a role under a lot of prosthetics, and then he became the guy who is the Night King, sort of became a character within themselves. Don't know if I like his image here. There is something about how Season 7 shifts its focus to be about the fantastical elements, to be about the Night King, where this just speaks kind of true to where the show is. This isn't the interpersonal or the regal drama that we were experiencing. This show has literally become all about spectacle, and you can see it even on the cover here, where it's taking the focus away from the characters that we know and the characters that we've grown to really follow and enjoy over these past 7 seasons to focus on the big bad. We don't have any iconic villains in the show, besides Ramsay and the Greyjoys and Jaime Lannister, but then Tywin Lannister, and then Cersei, and then Dany could have been an antagonistic force within herself, and then you have Littlefinger as a little antagonist, Stannis for a while. There's so many characters that became villains, or their villainy became such a part of their journey. When a character is just kind of made evil and then remains evil throughout their time on the show, and the only mystery surrounding them is who created them? And we answer that question, it was the Night Children, and then it's why did they create them? It doesn't matter the story, the logic, it doesn't matter what's behind the fantastical elements if the fantastical elements themselves, I find, are taken away from the more character moment. So this, for me, this cover completely highlights that aspect for me. And we see that this is just a Blu-ray paper slip cover that you would find on the outside of the packaging, held together with that tacky little gunky kind of glue stuff. See, we got in-person guide, imagination from reality. The art department has the best featurettes on these seasonal discs, and I would say that probably goes all the way until the end. Even that documentary, the end of the watch, the Night's Watch, the Night's End of Watch. So when we get to that sort of post-season, season 8 documentary, the one thing that still holds true is that the art department, the prop masters, the costuming, all that is still held to a really high standard. Of course, we get audio commentaries featuring Benioff and Wise, Lena Headey, Kit Harington. They like to sit down and they do the commentaries. This isn't new for the Game of Thrones Blu-rays. Creating the Invasion of Westeros, that is based on one of the big scenes, one of the big action pieces. What the heck is Invasion of Westeros in season 7? I know this show so good, like the back of my hand. These characters arcs, these storylines I've read and I've rewatched again and again and again. And yet, for some reason, when it comes to season 7, I completely blank out. I do not recall what happens in these last seasons, except for like set pieces, the Battle of Winterfell, the nuking of King's Landing by Daenerys, the disappointment of the council for the new king. These are all things that like I remember, but I don't know. It looks like we do come down to 3 discs. That was one of my questions, one of my predictions. Oh, I remember. The invasion of Westeros is when our band of bandits, they go north to try and fight the Night King, but then they get surrounded and Cold Hands has to rescue them. And then what? They take a dragon out of the ice, and then they resurrect a dragon, and it's like, oh I guess things are happening. Sorry, back to the disc. It is on 3 discs like I thought it would be, though I can't quite. Probably like episodes 1 and 2, 3, 4, 5, then 6 and 7, if I'm not mistaken. With no supplemental materials in the middle, we don't have anything in our little pocket. It is interesting to see the pocket does make a return after it is taken away in season 6. And then for the covers, we have this blue theme. Things are blue. People are serious. Winter is here. That is the big theming on the front, that winter is here. So when we get to the covers, we see our characters with blue eyes, with blue skin, hinting anyone can become a White Walker. Even though we know that none of these characters are in trouble, none of these characters have issues, but they are the characters we follow. Tyrion, Daenerys, they're doing a thing, Jon's doing a thing, and Cersei, even though you cannot see the short hair. Cersei's biggest change in all the seasons is her haircut, and you can't even see it. You can't even see her little hair. This is season 7. I'm not too impressed with the packaging, though they do go back to a black spine, a blue interior with the blue design. I'm gonna put season 7, the packaging right in the middle. It would go with the ones I already have, but I do not feel like I'm missing out on anything by not having it. Then we come to season 8, a little more in price, $24 versus $15 for the last. Why is the 5th season $9 and $29 for the 6th season? Is it because this is the last season that they gave it a little extra? On the cover of this one, we have Drogo, her red dragon, though you would not know he was red by looking at this. The swords that make up the throne end up being the spikes in the dragon's head. Thematically, it works. The image is cool. Also knowing everything that happens with Daenerys' character and the dragon, like how she loses a dragon from the harpoon guns that shoot her out of the sky, just out of nowhere that she could not predict, her causing a genocide. Maybe genocide isn't the right word, but there's definitely entire blocks of people just completely eliminated. It was a firebombing. She firebombed King's Landing. Looks like it's a black case. Do we get a slipcover with this one? You can see them hyping up the final battle, and I felt like this season had so much promise, and I will go more into this if I do a bigger review, but I feel like that last season, the biggest wasted potential, it's just how much hype was legit there. The people had a hunger for the final season. Yeah, maybe season 7 wasn't good, but maybe season 8 can pull it together. This was an all-time hype period for pop culture properties. If the Funko Pops didn't have you just glued to this franchise, if the merchandise, the shirts, the takeovers at Hot Topics, the modern science and fantasy museums featuring very large Game of Thrones themed things, Game of Thrones being a pop culture icon, being aped and parodied on TV and late night shows, or it being a nerdy fantasy series that was approachable and gripping and good within its own right, people were willing to give season 8 a chance. But it did feel like the spectacle became the point, and like I was saying, all the things that I remember, all the things that stand out to me aren't the character moments. I can break down a touching moment between Brienne Tar and Jaime Lannister in a jacuzzi just talking about their personal struggles, but I cannot tell you a single small moment from season 7 or season 8. It's kind of sad that this is what it's been reduced to. Like, here are the main characters. The picture Jon is awful. They're doing nothing. It's just blank faces that tells me nothing. That is entirely evocative of this final season. And in fact, the grand battle pick that is up here is Brienne and Jaime. Like, all right, we don't want to give them single photos, but we also don't want to feature any of the main cast in that back picture. Just so you know, there is a battle at some point over this last season. Once again, we are on 3 discs. The dude back here just killing, just mowing down. This isn't the first background that we've gotten with a dragon in it, but this is the first one with King's Landing. I kind of want to see this with the discs out of it, just so I can see this panoramic print of King's Landing and the castle there. But without that right now, I do like that the castle kind of peeks out over the top and the dragon's flying away. On the back side, this is kind of fun. The foldouts have each character, not one character per panel this time, but we have 2 characters per panel. So 2 characters per panel fighting for the throne. Jon and Cersei, Daenerys and Bran, Arya and Jaime, Sansa and Tyrion. Sansa sort of has a claim as a warden to the north. Tyrion has no claim to the throne. Jaime gave up his claim to the throne and his entire namesake. Arya doesn't even have a house anymore. Arya is a nameless assassin ranger. Bran has ascended to god tier raven status. Daenerys is a fucking dragon tyrant. Jon is a walking corpse. And Cersei is dead. So kind of a weird group of people to be fighting for the throne. We all know which one ends up on it, but I like this packaging. It's a little more, it's definitely more the body than we've seen on any of the other insides. Thematically, I kind of enjoy it. Even though season 8, I genuinely do not like any part of it. I will admit that them putting it back in the sleeve, it being like thematically congruent with the other releases, does make it seem like would fit in. If I had gone on to purchase season 7 and 8 for my Blu-ray collection, I feel like these 2 would fit into that collection and not stand out too much with their spines. But now that those are out of the way, I think it's time we look at complete collections. I don't want to purchase each Blu-ray individually. As we saw, they're about $20 to $30 a piece. If you buy all 8 seasons, that's like what, $300 or so? I'm not a mathematician, and I guess we're on sale because maybe it's Father's Day. I don't know what's going on. I don't have a father. So now we're on to the complete series on Blu-ray. I believe this is a North American release. I don't see any special symbols. Let me see. Almost 4,000 hours of content. 33 discs altogether. That's so wild. I gotta admit, I'm not really vibing with it. It's a Game of Thrones throne with ravens flying off the swords while it's on a pool of ice and fire. And then it sort of looks like smoke or snow, like there's a blizzard going on behind. For me, it feels like it's trying to be too thematic. Like there is too much going on here to look cohesive. And I don't think the ravens really work coming out. I don't know what's going on here with the flat earth ice sheet and then the fire coming out of it. I get what they're saying, that this is a song of fire and ice and you get both right there. here that the throne is literally on fire and ice. I just think it looks kind of ugly. I think this is supposed to be smoke and sparks. It looks like there's sparks down here. I do like that it's one big box. Big fan of big boxes with art on it. That does go around to the side. The crows look better. This front isn't really doing it for me. Even though it has like all the iconic things, I would have almost preferred if it was just like the shadow of a dragon again, or just the throne by itself. And then you see on the back here, this is all the covers to the releases that I got, hinting that this is a compilation of all of those individual seasons put together. If you don't want to purchase them individually like I did, you can purchase them all in one, and then that way you don't even have to worry about the spine, because at that point the spine is the box. It's the complete box, which if you get this, you're gonna probably want it to sit on a shelf by itself. There is something satisfying to me about having all of the collection, all of the books like in one. Just random photos. Wonderful. I'm not sure if I feel like this is a worthwhile grab, but $86 for 33 discs and almost 8,000 hours of content. I feel like this is probably the best. 86 bucks, you get every single season with all the bonuses that you would normally get if you bought them individually. You are not missing out if you grab this. The only thing is that the cover is kind of ugly. I think the cover is kind of ugly. But what if you want it in 4K? What if you are a filthy little completionist and you are going for a 4K collection? Well, then I say this cover does it a little better. Not that I particularly have a preference when it comes to 4K versus Blu-ray. I think both are incredible picture qualities with lossless audio that I don't really typically notice a difference unless it is a very particular movie. Fury Road in 4K I own. I also own, think, a 4K copy of It. Midsummer is a 4K copy. All right. If you are a filthy little 4K completionist, I think this hand-drawn look is so much more interesting than the last one. Look at him. He's so angry. Like, what is the show about? Dragons. What else do you need to know besides dragon? I'm here for the dragon. Personally, this is not dragging me down. My favorite part about 4K clamshells, you get them in the black. The 4K black shell looks so good. There's flames for season 1? No, season 1's down here. Oh, they're all labeled in terms of who's the star of that season, who this season partakes to. Yeah, Baratheon, Lannister, season 2. Stark is season 3. Gane is 4. I feel like Oberyn should have been 4 in the Dornish. I'm guessing Targaryen, Greyjoy, Mormont, the Raven, and then what? Just dragon. The episode guide is really cool too. It looks like you get a full complete little book here with all of the episodes together. I like the custom artwork, even though I don't really understand why they're corresponding together. Why is season 4 the Clegane season? Does he really leave a mark? The Mountain does kill Oberyn that season, so thematically maybe, and then season 3 is a Red Wedding, so it's like the big send-off of the Stark family. Season 1, it makes sense to be Baratheon, but why season 2 Lannister? I don't know what they're trying to do with these, but I do like this collection. I think it looks good. I like the cover art. I like this booklet. I'm going to say this is top tier. This is top tier. You are paying about $80 more to get it in 4K, but if you like that quality, if that matters to you, if you got a monitor to show it off, these are the complete series in all their glory in a way that is formatted, corresponds with one another at probably the best price. You can get 33 discs of premium television. So now we're looking at around the same price. We got the complete Game of Thrones DVD seasons like new. They were watched once, one viewing. I don't know how much you decide to take off from the price. Oh, look, you can get the complete series in this packet for $44. So that might be more worth it than the $84 for these DVDs. Walmart is where I came across these limited editions. Except for season 8, they just could not be bothered. That looks to be the regular DVD release of season 8 with the fucking dragon's face. And the fact that it doesn't line up is so funny. Like, why is that one bigger? The crow with a hole in the wall represents season 1 by Robert Ball, the artist behind the Beautiful Death series. I don't know what Beautiful Death is. Probably another fantasy series. I think having Bran in the Raven in the hole in which he falls from is just it's so good. Like, more thematically on point than just naming the seasons after a house. That genuinely represents the season that it's coming from, the first season. Season 2, it looks like it's marked by the Blackfire at the Battle of Blackwater. The Battle of the Blackwater. I love the green in contrast with the blue of the cells. These covers are just killing it for me. Season 3, you do have a lute, which indicates the song that they were playing, which is, oh, the rain. God damn it. I'm a fake fan. I'm sorry. I've never watched Game of Thrones before. This is all bullshit. I never watched Game of Thrones before. This is all bullshit. I'm doing this solely based off of what I read from the Wikipedia. They were playing a Lannister song, The Reigns of Castamere. And so the lute represents that, which represents the change in tone at the Red Wedding, with the dagger representing the dagger and Catelyn Stark representing, no, the dagger Catelyn was holding, which she was going to use to kill Frey's brand new wife, but Frey was like, it, I don't give a damn about no woman. And then the arrows obviously went straight into Robb. Oh, which you can see Robb. You can see it. She was stabbed. She was stabbed in the tummy. I forgot, guys. I forgot our lady, our Miss Lady Stark. She got straight up stabbed into her pregnant stomach. Beautiful cover, no complaints. I like it because it's like, if you know more about the show, you see more details in it. Season 4, we have Joffrey in the chalice that killed him and the doves that he killed before. There's doves in his cake, and he smashes a cake with his brand new sword, his Valyrian steel sword, and that sort of seals his fate, a cruelty. Oh, and then there's faces out. Do you see the faces? Do you see the faces, or do you see a chalice? Faces or a chalice? That one is Natalie Dormer. I recognize her nose anywhere. Of House Tyrell. Joffrey, like the blood is pouring off of him, and she's partly responsible for it. Good. And then it's purple because he turns purple. Thematically on point. Season 5, of course, you have the issue with the Sons of the Harpies and their rebellion against Daenerys' ongoing occupation of their home Marine, in which she jumps on her dragon and gets the out, you know? Sometimes I just want to get on my dragon and go. To which season 6 is then represented by the House of Faces, which goes to Arya's storyline, but also the burning wick of the dragon's breath, which hints at Cersei when she blows up the scepter with the new sort of religious leader in it. This is a double meaning, deceit, betrayal. It's not as clear as some of the other covers, which only deal with like one incident. This is sort of mishmashing two different things going on, which brings us to season 7, the flaming sword, the Lightbringer, the Valyrian still being carried into the north to fight against the White Walkers. It looks like there's even a White Walker in the outline. This one's fine. This is probably my least favorite. Season 6 and 7 are probably my least favorite. If I would have to pick one out of all of these, I would probably say that the season 3 one pretty good, though that season 1 window is actually really thematically just on point. And then of course you have season 8 here with the textured raised DVD. These are going for $84.99 like new on eBay. They are good looking covers, like the art's interesting. I want to say fully jam it, but they are DVD quality, which will bring it down one. And that season 8 is not corresponding. Not that you want season 8, not saying that season 8 is desirable, but it really up the feng shui of the artistically representative covers. It makes me question why they give up on season 8. Did they just not have the funding? Was the fanfare just not there to put in the effort? So I think the only place for this to go is a Slam Jam, given the 2 markdowns of it being a DVD and it not having season 8. But if you only like a couple seasons or you only want 1 or 2 of them, I think those are kind of the limited editions to go for. Now, this one might actually be a bootleg. It's $6.99 to the United States, ships from China. So this is a Chinese release of Game of Thrones. It's in full 1080p. That was implied by it being a Blu-ray. And this is the first 3 seasons in Chinese Game of Thrones. And it is confusing. The color palette looks a lot more like a Will in Time. Color palette also reminds me of like Camelot or like a 90s, early 2000s Merlin type fantasy drama show. It looks like a lot lower quality of a series. Is that an Etz in the middle of winter? Why is there Etz in winter? Is this AI generated? Is this even real? It has Lena Headey, which she's way back here on the cover. Amelia Clark right here front and center. And then Nicola Coster-Waldau is over here. It's just funny that it's 2 background people and then 1 front and center right there. It's $87 and it ships from China. Is this a real version of Game of Thrones? I don't know. It looks bootleg. It kind of looks like a porn parody. That's going in the full slam it. If I happen to be at a Goodwill and I ran into Chinese Game of Thrones, maybe I buy it. Maybe I grab it for the memes. Okay, this one, we do not get a lot to go off of. Game of Thrones 1 through 3 again, like the Chinese box. It's a Blu-ray box set, this time from the UK, and we're looking at $90, but still sealed. It is a sealed edition, but I don't know why it's worth $90. It's Blu-ray, so at least it's 1080p. Really like that the front cover is just a raised map of Westeros, though it is very, very little Westeros. It's like just the north. There's the rock, there's a Riverlands, which means Winterfell is even further north. We really don't even see anywhere that is particularly important to the plot. I guess the Stormlands are, and the Reach are locations that they go to a lot, but they're not really main areas. I don't know. I'm torn on this one. I am torn. For $90 plus, it's only the first 3 seasons. It's a cover that doesn't fully represent the land of Westeros or the area that is important to any of our characters. So maybe like almost everything from the UK, you should slam it. Slam it slightly, get it out of here. Okay, but riddle me this. What if I wanted the first 4 seasons in Spanish? That's when we go to Juego de Tronos. Is that how you say throne in Spanish? Is trono? Juego de Trono. Can't even f***ing read that part. Primera, segunda, tercera y... I guess I never read first, second, third and fourth in Spanish is a little different than how you would say the actual letters. I do know when the Wall Street Journal says magnificia, that they really mean magnificia. You do get the first 4 seasons. It looks like they are the basic releases that I have already obtained. You get this nice slipcover, which is, I guess, dragon scales. Yeah, you just get dragon scales with very clean, very simple Game of Thrones seasons 1 through 4. And then it looks like the inner workings of the season are exactly what I already have and what I already shown. So $93 for 3 seasons of an already open Spanish version of Game of Thrones. I'm gonna put that right in the middle because you are getting the versions that I have, the standard versions, the regular versions, but you're getting them in a little extra flavor. But what if you want something a little extra with your Blu-rays? What if I don't just want a disc? I don't want an egg. I want an egg. I want an experience. Is this what's inside of this version? Is this what these Blu-ray discs look like? They're not bad. It's interesting to me that these have the logos, but they're hand-drawn. They look like the actual banners. Which I really like. I love the coloring on them. I like that they're simple, and I like that they don't label the season as like Stark, Greyjoy, Lannister. And then you get this big ass box with a dragon's egg in it. Look at that. Look at that dragon egg. I'm sure that's made from the finest hand-painted resin that they could mass produce. If you're looking at getting the 33 discs every season of Game of Thrones, region open Blu-ray box set with a hand-painted resin egg, you're looking at $172. Where will we even ship this from? United Kingdom. So thank you, UK, for making the egg edition. For being just like completely unnecessary, I'm probably gonna put the egg edition and slam it. $80 for this version, but you have to pay $100 more because there's a hand-painted egg with it. You know you're selling those eggs separately for like $10, so shut the fuck up. This is one of the more interesting collector's editions. It's like a storybook version, or like, I think it's supposed to look like it's in universe media. It's supposed to look like it's from the Game of Thrones world itself. And I think each layer in here, I could be wrong, but I think each layer in here is another sleeve to the disc. We have this scene going on up front, a wolf representing the Starks with a raven looking over them and ice on their side, fighting Baratheons, the Lannisters, and a dragon. Even though it's not really split up between them like that, don't know what's going on in the middle here, what that's supposed to indicate. And then you have the throne all the way in the background behind the ice. And then from behind, it says, when you play the Game of Thrones, you win or you die. A quote by Cersei, if I'm not mistaken. The texture on this is nice. Is this actually like kind of wooden? It looks almost like a vinyl box. Like these are vinyl records with a nice leather looking strap that goes over. The hand of the king pins it down. I really like the pageantry in this box set. And when you lay them all out, you can see that you have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9 different places. So that one just has a plus on it. So I'm assuming it's like bonuses. How are the discs in here is what I want to know. Are there any pictures? How good is the Amazon Media Player? All right, well, it sounds like it's just a song, so I'm not gonna do the song. I will see this. I will see. It looks pretty big. It's a clear plasticky diorama type thing. The fake slashes are kind of interesting. Buckle it. Here, get that elbow in there. Get that elbow. Oh, never show your elbows for free. Can you open it? Can you open it for me, please? Is it ripped? Did they rip it already? Is it ripped right here? Did they rip it? The pageantry seems nice, but if you're already ripping off tabs, show me that other one. Yep, if you're already ripping tabs, trying to get it back in, there is a strong potential you're going to scratch it. I personally really love my complete series of Weeds on Blu-ray. Comes in this really fun fluorescent green cover. And then you have the entire series beautifully put together in this booklet. However, the way it is in these little envelopes here, sort of like I literally have to put a thumb on the disc and then try it. Like, you can't really pinch it together. You have to just like, and I don't want to do that. I don't want to rip the disc out from my collection. I love this show so much that I bought the collection for it. Please don't make me break the Blu-ray to get it out of the package. And that's what I feel like happened here. I feel like this was trying to be put in the package or taken out in a very particular way with someone that didn't have the time nor the patience to do it, and then it just ripped right off. So while the storybook look is very interesting and I like the packaging, this is a case of the packaging actually being detrimental to the practicality of trying to watch a Blu-ray. I like how they slide in piece by piece. That's a fun aspect. Let me see. Customers find the Game of Thrones Blu-ray set visually stunning and amazingly layered images for each season and appreciate its impressive collector's edition design. Genuine wood construction. I like that. I like that they use wood for it. This set receives positive feedback for its size, detailed inserts, and comprehensive extras, with one customer noting it houses 8 sleeves of DVDs. While customers consider it worth the money, some report issues with discs not playing properly, and the discs don't play properly because you can't pull it out of the thing. A new Blu-ray DVD player and an HDMI kit. Wow, they got the full package. They ordered 8 seasons of Game of Thrones with a Blu-ray player. They arrived in the same package 2 days after I purchased them. The box they came in was much bigger than all 3 combined. That's just how Amazon works. The main box looked like it had been worn around and stomped on. The tape on top had peeled half off. When I opened the boxes inside, they look like they'd been stepped on too. Hopefully, this item is wood, so someone would really have to throw it to hurt it. I pulled out each sleeve to confirm nothing's been damaged. Unfortunately, 3 discs slipped out of their sleeves. They're kind of stuck to the sleeves, and when I inspected them, they seemed free of damage. Need to watch anything. The artwork was not so lucky. Paper is peeling away, but it's not terrible. And then someone else says, apparently a previous return set as the hand of the kingpin was missing. The set was shuffled around the case with no wrappers or seals. These discs refused to load on our DVD player. After checking an online forum for the exact problem, we are now notified that loading is an impossibility for some USA DVD player models because someone got sloppy with the DVD coding. Some people are lucky and their DVD player loads the Game of Thrones perfect. I think that's just like region locked. Some players are region specific, but if you have a Sony device like a PlayStation, then those are not region locked and you can play region free open region. Some sets or individual discs will not play at all. None of my DVDs will load at all. Some DVD players allegedly will work with a time-consuming workaround of loading disc 1, selecting which episode you want to watch, pulling disc 1 out of the menu player, and then loading the applicable disc containing your episode back into the player, waiting 3 minutes for it to load, and then it plays. Frankly, for the money and what it costs, this isn't worth it at all. That's scathing. That is scathing for this storybook, this magical version of Game of Thrones. I'm gonna say beautiful idea, horrible execution. It's gonna go back down with our gimmicky one. I think it's a really cool Game of Thrones piece. This is the absolute worst format to just have a disc in. It's not for the discs. It's not disc friendly, which brings us to our Funko Pop version. Of course, there is a Funko Pop version, this one being dubbed in French and Spanish, this one being a Walmart exclusive, an import from the Netherlands, season 1 to 4, and it will work on regions A, B, and C. You have 19 discs in it. Whether or not this is the regular Blu-ray DVD pack, there's no information. It's just a Funko Pop. You get La Figurine with it. It's 1 through 4 with the scales on it, which makes me think it's probably this Spanish version, but it comes with a Funko Pop. So just because it is the exact same thing as this 1 through 4 seasons, but it's made worse by giving more plastic, more packaging, landfill waste in the form of a Funko Pop to deal with. That's gonna go on the bottom tier for me, baby. If you do throw in a Funko Pop with my movie, that's not gonna make me appreciate it more. That's not gonna make me go, wow, what a value. And then charge me $113 for it. Plus shipping. Don't forget shipping. Do not forget shipping. This brings us to our final Game of Thrones ranking. First of all, I just want to say thank you so much for making it this far in my video. I had a lot of fun going over the Game of Thrones packaging. I am a movie enthusiast, especially when it comes to physical media. So if you enjoyed this video and you want to see me make more, please let me know by liking and subscribing. Please leave a comment below if you would like me to give more expansive thoughts on Game of Thrones or any other series, or if you just want more videos like this. Finally, we come to my favorite, my wheelhouse. I am a sucker for Steelbooks. When Best Buy, Walmart, and Target, I don't think this was like a store specific con. Only at Best Buy. So when only at Best Buy got these collectible Steelbook editions with a sigil magnet. So each one of these has a different magnet in the middle that corresponds to the Blu-ray disc, to the Steelbook. Here's all of them laid out together. This one is promising. This one is the only one that says exclusive to Best Buy, and it's promising 45 minutes of extra content. Here's the spine of all of them. What is this extra? Got an extra little DVD sleeve there. They did used to come with DVDs. I think I would give those to my partner at the time, where it's like, I don't need a DVD version of this show. It would come in a separate little disc case, and I'm wondering if that's what those are. Even though I love Steelbook so much, I knew that if I were to collect the series in Steelbooks, I would have to start with season 1. I couldn't just get like season 4 in the Steelbook and have it fit in with my first 2 or 3 seasons that were in the regular version. And I am all about cohesiveness. I like my collector's editions to fit together, to make sense together. So the first season comes with a collectible Winterfell sigil magnet, which it looks like the sigil, but it's like a dirty version of it with a little more detail. I don't know. Do you put that on your fridge? Where do you put that? I like this though, the like top down view of Winterfell. Season 2 comes with a Lannister star. You get a top down of King's Landing, it looks like. Season 3, it's the twins, which is where the Red Wedding happens. I think that's supposed to be the ice wall. Season 4, you get the crow, and then you get the pyramid. 5 is Dany's Targaryen sigil with the pyramid. Wait, season 4 is a pyramid, then season 5, oh, that's the same one. They just showed it twice. Season 6, you get, what the heck is that? It's a guy. It's a dude. It's a soldier. What sigil is that? It's the Dantos? Bravos. Sorry, it's Bravos. They're themed to places. So you have Winterfell, King's Landing, the twins, the wall, then Bravos. Season 7, the exclusive one. Don't get it wrong. I guess this one, they're like, not everyone gets a Steelbook for 7. This is Dragonstone, which is Daenerys' home. This is really the ugliest symbol. It looks like a little boil or a little pimple on there. And then season... Oh, is this an alternative? Okay, so Best Buy exclusive, you get the red egg with the 45-minute regular version of season 7. You just get this boring old white egg, though. I would say the white egg is a little more appealing than this little red bomb something. And then season 8, at least they were able to finish out the collection, unlike that other hand-painted collection we were looking at. This is Winterfell with a dagger sigil. I don't know who that's supposed to be. And then they mimic the first one. You have the bleeding tree right there. And then here they do it again, but with a dragon flying over it. That's pretty ominous. That's pretty good. I want to see what they look like out of their packaging. Whoa, what the f is this collection? This is another one? Oh my god. Okay. Oh geez, I got rank that one. No, I'm trying to figure out what does this collection look like outside of their magnets. Oh no. You know there's something going on when you see that. I'll get there in a second. I just want to look at the steelbooks without any of the exterior packaging on it. I really like these super simplistic, just blocky backs of it. I think the sides look really good. It makes a full image. It makes a little intro thing. That's fucking sick. That's so perfect. And then they just look like regular steelbooks with the seasons inside them. I bet you they're 2 discs deep. Take one disc up, take the second one. What's the description? Show me. Please look over the photos carefully. All steelbooks exhibit scratches in the metal. I've added some close-up photos, for example, that are both front and back. Season 1 steelbook upper back corner also exhibits a small dent in it. All discs are accounted for per season. Seasons 1 through 3 have 5 discs, and then 4 for 4. So it seems like you're getting the same discs regardless of which version you end up buying. I just think that it's a little ridiculous to be asking 10,000. What the fuck? Why the fuck would it be 10 grand? Why the heck would it be 10 grand? Because it's sealed? This shit was on discount at Target. Or payments of $508 from Klarna, which seems like that could be worth it. That seems like something I definitely personally would pay back. That is just wild. And then over here, you can get slightly dented used versions for $60. That seems like it could be worth it a little more if you ask me. Ooh. Okay, just for the fact that it's $10,000, I want to slam it. But if we're looking at it evenly and we take out the 10 grand, I like that they're all the same size. I like that it all corresponds. Don't like that the discs stack on top of each other. There are just too many pluses and minuses when it comes to this set. Also do think if you're collecting them, the Steelbooks is a good collection, but the magnets are so stupid. Okay, Slam Jam. Slam Jam on the Steelbooks. That also means we have one more that I just found. So we're looking at like an actual steelbook for the first time, 4K steelbook editions with an embossed library case. I'm distracted. I got distracted by steelbooks. I'm sorry. I like the casing for this one. I like that they're all labeled and they're all corresponding. These covers are pretty tight. They're just kind of vague enough to get an idea of something Games of Thronesy. The Hand of the King, the violin, dragon sword. I don't even know what the hell these are. I like it thematically. I like the colors, but I honestly think the other books are more appealing. How much is this collection? No one knows. No one knows how much it is. I'm gonna give that one. I don't like the artwork. So I'm gonna shuffle. These steelbooks, even though they're pricey, I think they're sexy. I like the art style with them. They're a jam it. These steelbooks, they're not my favorite, and they're British, so they go in the Slam Jam it. Sometimes you have to know when to tap out. I've been recording for over 3 hours. I have a lot to edit. Think I have done enough. So, hi, I have been Grace. Thank you for watching. This has been a fun video to make. Make sure to like and subscribe if you want more. And I'll catch y'all on the flip side. Transgender.